So, um, all right. So, Ray, okay, I got it. I pray, let me pray. I thank you, Father, for the joy of the day, and I also thank you for the joy of new learning experiences, and we might be a leader in your children's family. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Um, all right, a few things I have to go over before we get started in some things. Um, are you guys aware of how to take notes? When you're taking notes, you don't wait to see and if you hear what you like or understand or whatever, it's just right.
We do. I do.
No, I tell students a lot of them, I don't care if I see anything but the top of your head. You need to write as much as you can of what's said. Because if you wait, you're not going to get notes. And we're in a subject and counseling that has a lot of variety to it. And so it's very serious business. So, but when you write and take notes on a piece of paper, make sure you have an inch, inch and a half on all sides, the sides, the top and the bottom. And the rest of the paper should be filled. The sides are in case later you look at your notes, you want to add something, you got space to put it. If you write on the whole paper, you can't put notes in there. And this is very important that you take notes. I'll be sending an exam after the class. It'll come on your email. One thing is that if you didn't understand everything, don't talk to each other. Ask me or whatever, stop me on the way or whatever, because this is serious stuff. You're dealing with people's lives. I mean, you're dealing with people's very lives. And so don't ask somebody else because they may be not got it clear themselves. And so, in other words, it's a blind leading the blind. And so, but need to do that. And so don't copy what somebody else wrote down to fill your notes, because that could mislead you because they may not be clear. And so that's why when I'm talking, if you have a question that's not clear, then say something. Also, be thinking about at the end of the class that will be due the first week in January, an 12-page paper on a subject that are a part of counseling that you want to write about. So that will be a 12-page paper. That will be the final part of this grade. And I'll talk more about making a paper, and because so far I've not seen anyone in all the years I've been here coming up with a college form paper. And we'll talk about, now I've got books, I just bought 2 new books on making a paper, but it won't be there in the box for 3 months. That's the bad thing. But the main thing is pick your subject and figure out what you want to talk about. And I'll do more of that next week because I've lost time today. Just think about what you want to write about, and then get with it. And that will be turned in the first meeting with me in January. also for next week, one of the assignments is what all counseling services are available in the Philippines and what is the main areas of the Philippine abnormal areas. One report I had was 60% of Filipinos have a problem. And we'll talk about that a little bit as we go because there are reasons for that. Okay, I don't know if you have any questions. Now, I want to now, one thing is about counseling. A lot of it deals with the attitude. I'm on page 2 of my notes at the top, number 10. I want to start there today. This is a review of that. But the counselor brings hope and leads them to take responsibility. You see that?
Yes.
Right. This is pretty important. All of everything I said is important, but this is very important. That a lot of times, and of course, one thing you have to remember and know is that there are a lot of differences between Filipinos in Leyte or Bacolod and Manila. And a lot of the counseling is due to the different lifestyles between, say, like a small barrio compared to someone who lives in Manila. And that is a factor in who you deal with. A lot of the people have problems in the small barrio, but they just go through the regular routine and push their wheelbarrow or whatever it is they do. And so they just live with whatever they have. You go into a place like Manila, more advanced, and some of the cities like in Ormoc and others are a little more advanced than that. And so some of the problems will come about in that society. And so a lot of times people begin to lose hope if they're not really prepared. I've been working with she's 23 now, a young girl that grew up in a family and never done much. And so she got out of school and went to and got a job. And now she's going through a whole lot of mental decisions and what to do. She emails me at least 2 to 3 times a week. Because one of the things there is she went from an average Filipino home out into the business world, and there was a whole new kind of ball game. And she wasn't prepared, and the teaching and the upbringing was just typical Filipino family, and just stayed a little kind of like small. And she gets into a city like in Manila, and it just freaks her out. She's doing better now, but she had a hard time. She had a hard time dealing with the people at work That's Wayne. Yeah.
I interrupt you, but turn your camera on. They can't see you at all.
Oh, is that right?
Yes, so down in the lower left-hand corner, man, click on that thing that looks like a camera next to the mute button. So click on that piece down there for them, so they can see you.
Oh, what is it?
Go down and kind of hover down across the bottom.
Yeah.
All right. And over on the right, it says Start Video. And click Start Video. Lower left-hand corner.
Oh,
Yeah, move your mic down there. There you go. Now people can see you. All right.
oh, okay.
All right.
Sorry, guys.
Bye. Bye.
All right. I thought something was different. So anyway, the thing that I just wanted to stress with that one is that when you take someone from a small barrio into a place in a whole new environment, a lot of times it's very confusing for them. And a lot of different challenges that they've never done, especially if they've never had to work a job or anything and they're going out and there's whole new expectations. So a lot of times they just get a little bit troubled, just want to talk to somebody. And the preacher is generally the first person they think about, or they don't do anything at all. But you just need to give them hope and lead them in to be able to handle their responsibilities. I think I covered that part on the next one, on what does the counselee bring? Did I cover that?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yes.
Okay.
The counseling client brings to the counseling session.
What does the counselee bring?
Yeah, we covered Roman numeral 2 and we are now in number 8. The
Okay,
strength
I want to go over number 2.
What
okay.
does the counselee brings? Heart, pains, and frustration.
Well, I wanted to go over number 2 a little more.
Okay.
His background. You want to make sure that you understand his background. And the second thing is to make sure he say the same. What I do, like on a first visit, I try to get a little bit of background. What do you do? Where have you been? What's family life or something? And the second visit, I will now I want to just start again here. If I understand, this is things that happen in your life. To make sure that I am getting as best as possible, because sometimes in the first session or two, they're not necessarily honest with you. And so you want to make sure you got it right, because now you can take them in the wrong way and sometimes mess them up, make their head, damage their head. But you want to make sure that you understand what things have been like. And sometimes I'll spend 2 sessions, 2 meetings over trying to make sure that I got a good understanding of where he's come from and what's happened in his life. And if it's a woman, there's a lot of things that can happen in her early life, and that is very helpful for you. Where did you say we ended up?
Number 8.
Number 8?
Yes, sir.
Oftentimes a person does not feel like he's too much or has we'll say like somebody that's been pushing a wheelbarrow out in a barrio. He decides to go into a bigger town and get a job. So he gets in there, and then soon he discovers he's not doing well, and he's not sure he's doing a good job. And a whole lot of confusion of things can come. And also this would be in a marriage. Sometimes a couple gets married, and then they begin to kind of have a lot of doubts. So what I want to do now is I want to find out early as I can, what are their strengths? And that may be, this is one thing that I failed to mention earlier when I started. A good thing, and I would like you, and I want to be looking at that, and you'll show me every visit, every time we get together, your list of questions. That is going to be very important. Questions you just imagine some of the different things about in a family or a single person, and just imagine a trouble or a problem or something that you know, Filipino problems. Well, you need to have questions that will help you get answers. And so I want to look at the thing, the person, and discover what are their strengths, especially if the person's beginning to doubt his abilities and his whatever. And I want to make sure as best I can that I've got questions that helps open up the doors for me to now supply them with new information, new encouragement, and new outlook. Sometimes in one counseling session, I'll use at least 25, 30 questions. So before we're done, you're going to be showing me at least 100 questions. So write them down, and each week I'll look at them. Because if you can't open up their mind and their heart and their trust, if that combination is not working well, you got a job to do. Because very few people are all that completely honest in the first 1 or 2 meetings. Now I have in my mind, when I know somebody's coming in, that I'm going to work with them and be done in 6 sessions. I want everything fixed in 6 sessions. That's not counting my follow-up. Is Rochelle still with us? Rochelle?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay. I'm just checking to see if you're still alive. And so one of the things that's a big help is when you find their strengths. And sometimes people come in and it's like, I can't do anything right. And the woman is saying the guy, you're stupid or whatever, all this. And even to the woman, the guy talking to the woman. And so you want to find out strengths that's gonna get you through to the next time Because if you can't get into that next time with that you created an interest and a desire to come back again and to learn more. And, this here is very common. I know a lot of times that the younger woman is strong in a lot of ways. And I'm working with some now, 2 guys, where their wives constantly talk to them about they're not smart, or the woman says, I'm smarter than you. I'm always right, you're always wrong. So how is a guy going to deal with it? And then one thing about it, now as a counselor, one thing that I want to mention here, sometimes I've asked questions to you guys, and then I get an answer back. Well, see, Eliezer or see Tate, didn't ask that, ask what you wanted. What the question was to you, and so that's bad. You can't pass it on. And a lot of times the wives are making decisions in the fact you're going to have a hard time in a counseling session if you're not running the house. If you're not in charge, you're going to have a hard time, because that is some things that you deal with in most counseling sessions. And if you don't know how to make things work and that you're a yes man in the family, you got problems. And you'll never, I'll be honest with you, as far as I know, my experience, you'll never help anybody because you don't know how to overcome. The husband and the wife work together as a team, but also there's job roles. And so take responsibility, and if you're a person, you've got to be a person that makes decisions and helps and has ideas about making it happen. Well, the rest of those, I think they'll be coming up from time to time through the study. So we'll go to the next page. I got page 3, where at the top it says counseling relationships. And it starts out of love. You see that circle and with the 2 people inside? That's on page 3.
Yes. Stick people.
Right. Okay. You got connecting, instant rapport, compassion, empathy, and understanding. Inside the
Yes.
circle is 2 people. The one on the left is the counselor. The one on the right is the client or somebody visiting you. I got an arrow pointing to the left and an arrow pointing to the right. And you can either push or draw. The things you do and the things you say will either push them away or draw them in closer to continue on. As I said at the top, there I would say we start out of love. You got to want to love this. And it's not that you're a counselor, you're helping somebody and you're smart and all these things. You got to forget all that. It's not something that you want to brag. It's actually you're there and you are ready to help and want to see them fixed up. I know a guy that I went to college with, and he was really good at getting in, and he studied and was getting his degree in counseling, and he was good. The problem was his wife told him what to do. And if they were talking to some friends, it was no secret who was boss. And she would begin to lead the whole thing. If there's 4 or 5 people talking, boy, she was the head of it. And so it killed him. I mean, well, I didn't mean literally kill him, but it got him out of that thing, and he's no longer in ministry or anything. She really damaged his head and his ego, his pride, his manhood, just about everything. She was so strong. You want to be able to connect the top of the right of the circle. You want to connect. Hearing and listening does not mean you've connected. There's a thing out about in education. I don't know if I remember it exactly right, but you remember 10% of what you hear. And I think it's something like, I forgot the other one, and then it jumped up to like, you remember 60% of
10%.
what you hear and do. That's a wife calling. I'm sorry about that. So
You need to get that call.
huh?
Get that call. That's the boss.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell her because she'll call back in 5 minutes. Shoot, I shut her off. I told her, but she forgets, and she's getting pretty bad about dementia and all. So, but anyway, you want to be sure you're connecting, and it isn't that listening and hearing is not necessarily connecting. You're beginning to get in with them. You can feel their pain, and you can share in that. And that's where it would come from, an instant rapport, where you are with them, you understand, you have empathy for it, you have a compassion, and all of that builds up where that it's almost like you're part of them. And you got to have that. I know a lot of guys that are pretty smart people, very smart, that was going to do this, but they don't have compassion. They don't have. I think they look at the people with a problem as stupid or don't know what they're doing. At least from what how he talks, that's what comes out. But you got to have compassion for the problem, because they're poor. A lot of times, if they're having problems, and that they're just heartbroken, they're sad, and that's why I know a lot of Filipinos. They've been 4, 5, 6, 8 women. They don't like one, they go to another one, and because they don't like what they do or whatever it might be, and it don't really matter because there was no compassion in that union to begin with. And empathy would just simply be, it's like you can feel with them, you can laugh with them, you can, you're there. It's like you're getting inside them. Their problem is almost like your problem. If you do it just to say that I'm a counselor and I don't have these problems, I'm going to help you, you're probably not going to do very well.
Sir. Sir,
Yeah.
Sir Luis, I have a comment there about empathy.
Yeah. What about it?
If you feel and getting into the life of your counselee or clients, is there a tendency to burn you out because you feel the pain and you become stressed too with them because you feel their pain? So how to,
Well, well, there's ways that you can handle this, and you just have to. What I'm saying, that if you don't have a love for this situation, and you carry it with you, you will have some problems. That's why a lot of people burn out, is that their problems are just part of them, and you can't carry it with you. You have to just set your limit, and I can get with them, and it's just like I feel with them. I understand them, and all. But there's just a certain point there where you are in control. You stay in control.
okay.
But that's something you have to watch and learn, and you're helping them, and I can't help them if I can't feel some of their pain. But then the next thing is, I remember an older guy who was like 70, 75, and he had been living with pain in his heart and his mind for 20 years. And so I talked with him. I got a pretty good handle what it was, but one of the things that kept coming up, he had a lot of problems with his daughter, who was 40 years old. So we got to talking, and I think the third visit, I finally got to the point where he was just not, because of her problems, he didn't speak to her. Are you with me, Teo?
Teo, where are you?
So I was talking with him, and he had a bad thoughts about his daughter, her lifestyle, and he was hurt by it. So he didn't speak to her. He didn't go around her for 10 years. So when I talked with him, and we worked on all that, and so she's not perfect. She wasn't born to live a perfect life, and just kept on with him about she wasn't still your daughter, and forget your embarrassment. That came out a few times. This is where you get it. I don't know, the tail. You with us?
Yes.
All right.
I'm just listening.
Oh, I see you talking. I didn't know you were. Well, the thing about it, when I got with him and I listened to him, her life embarrassed him. she was not a pure girl, that's for sure. But the thing about it is that she's still the daughter. And if you want a relationship with your daughter, you're going to have to look past that and accept it. And then the things you don't like, help her out. And so it worked pretty well. It went faster than I thought. And so he got with her and everything was fine. And then over the course of a year, or less than a year, she changed her whole life. Just because Daddy now accepted her as she is. And it was a thing that you wouldn't be proud of, but the love now reignited, and he died 5 years later. And one of the things he told me and his wife told me was the happiest thing in his life was the last time he was in my counseling session. Because that's when he really got with his daughter. So the thing about it is that you cannot necessarily correct everything like with the daughter or his daughter. You can't correct that immediately because if you don't have him in a counseling session, you can't talk to him. So let me get her. Yeah, I'm in a class. And you can't change that. What you can do is change him so that him and the daughter would get together, and that's what changed her. She thought all these years, and she's like 40 years old, and she thought all these years Daddy didn't like her. Her whole life, she didn't know that her dad loved her. His love was held back. And it was behind a wall that said, your daughter is bad and it's an embarrassing thing. But once I broke that down, then things got a little better there with them.
Okay.
So one thing you want to do, this is a circle that should be working in your life. Connecting, rapport, compassion, empathy, and understanding. And this understanding is more than listening, more than hearing what they're saying, and you understand where they're at. But you understand for the main purpose of how am I going to change their life.
Okay.
Then I want to add in here this word maladaptive. That's not in your outline. This will be extra. Maladaptive.
Maladapting.
The word mal, M-A-L, almost any form that it's used in is meaning bad or it's not good, something like that.
Yeah.
So maladaptive means their life is not adapting to life, to the reality. So maladaptive personality means that their personality is not working. Something has to change. That's why I know from living and working in Manila and um, the high percentage of problems in counseling in Manila. You take someone from a small barrio, goes to Manila, and a lot of that's hard to live with because it's a whole different lifestyle. A whole lot of different things. If someone moved there to Makati, they would have a very hard time because of that business area. White shirt, tie, that all that kind of thing it would be a whole new kind of thing, and they have a hard time adapting to that, and so that becomes problem. So what you have to do when you have someone that has a maladaptive problem is that you have to decrease or lessen the pain. Because there's a lifestyle change that sometimes people just has a hard time with that. They want to scream, and they don't know how to adapt to a new life.
Yeah.
So they have to learn a new behavior, a new productive behavior. Then if that's not fixed up, then the next thing is an emotional and health problem. An emotional, I got a book coming. I bought everyone. I'm gonna get. It'll be sent, but it'll be 3 months. But it's called Emotion. Wow. So because emotions can't guide you, but in reality, when people have a problem, their emotions guide that. And that's why some people end up having a health problem. So now then they don't look at it as for having a choice, but now they got to make a choice. And that is, what are they going to do about it? And so if a person's emotions are running high from fear or not adapting to life, not whatever it might be, then the choice is seen in their reaction. And emotions should not guide your reactions. Now, where our time is getting out here, but one thing I want to mention is I want you to get on, figure out you'll have to go to the internet for this, or ask some doctors or whatever, is how many, or what is the counseling needs in the Philippines? What service what kind of help do people have in the Philippines? Where they get it from? Anything in that area. But then we'll look at that next week in a report. Or you can email it to me. If you get it done in that time, email it.
Okay.
And I think that's all the assignments I would. Do all of you have a dictionary?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, because
Go.
there's a lot of words that you may not be familiar with, and you'll need to look them up. And well, thank you. God bless. And
Thank you.
wow, that hour goes fast. But we'll look at this, and I gave you an assignment for next week. And that was my opening remarks. If anybody has a question, go ahead and ask me now before Wayne shuts me off.
Okay.
Don't tell him, but he thinks he's boss, but he's not.
Sir Luis,
Yeah, go ahead.
Weasley, can you stress out about emotions? You know, emotions is just part of God's creation, and how come it becomes a malady, becomes a source of maladaptive.
Well, a lot of times people's emotions, they move and react by it, but it's wrong. How many times do you know people that made a decision on something and then it was gone? The book that's coming is called Emotion and will help you a lot. I'm sorry, but it's going to be 3 months before it gets there. But anyway, emotion, there's a good part about it, and that is sometimes in your relationship to help you with your feelings, your kindness, and so on and so forth. But if people make a decision and a problem arises, a problem comes up or a difficulty, it's like right now I got a couple that's a boy and a girl in Manila that I've been working with, and the emails are getting less, but I was getting them one every week about, I love him, he's a good guy and all that. My family don't like him. And so her emotions was involved with him. The family don't know him like she does. So now I'm trying to balance out to keep mom and dad in a good relationship with the girl to stay home until she's married, because she don't know, should I go get an apartment? Should I leave them? And all that. But that's the kind of thing that happens, that sometimes the emotion is there. And the guy's had 2 other women. She's 23, and he's got a 12-year-old daughter. So there's a lot of things in
Sure.
there that she needs to know, but her emotions are better. They've calmed down, but they're not guiding her like they were, because she was ready to just take off and live with him. I can add some more to that next week. And
Okay.
so anyway, God bless, and I'm sorry this hour just goes flying by, or does. for me.
Okay.
So thank you
Coffee
again.
time.
Thank
time.
you. Thank you,
Okay,
Wish.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Guys, we'll see you.
Thank you.
Good one, guys.
Are you getting some new thoughts?
Yes. Yeah. Need some more.
Yeah, you got a lot more coming.
Okay.